What's up? It's Finn. And if you think I look like shit, imagine how I feel. So yesterday I had a migraine. It started at like 12 to 1 and it is now almost 5 the next day and I'm still pretty affected. But now that the sun's like kind of, it's not setting, it's just not like directly into my eyes, I figured I would go ahead and do this video. I'm one of those people I'm not interested in being sick. I'm really fucking bad at being sick. And what it really boils down to is that I don't give a shit about my well-being and I'm really bad at taking care of myself. And like all things that cause me discomfort in my life, being sick, I just ignore it. So I'm gonna go ahead and make this video. I really wanted to do it yesterday, but of course yesterday I was in a world full of fuck. And now that I have traversed a good ways out of that realm, I feel like, you know, it's about time to get up and do some shit. So this video is going to be about menstruation. I don't really try to hide it or avoid talking about it or anything. I am AFAB, assigned female at birth, and so I do have a uterus, I do menstruate, and it fucking sucks. I do consider myself one of those people that kind of makes the delineation between sex and gender, because if I go to the doctor and I tell them that I'm agender, they're like, how the fuck do I treat you though? And so I just see, like, because I have a uterus, I have ovaries, I am lucky enough to have just really distinctive sexual characteristics. So I can just go to the doctor and, like, you know, go to the gynecologist and they'll help me out. There are a lot of people that have, you know, the toe on the line. There's some ambiguity, and it makes things more complicated. And so I'm lucky to have what I have, but I don't fucking want it. So I got a menstrual cup. And so what this video is going to be about is, I'll focus on the menstrual cup because that's what I decided to get, but I'll also go over some different alternatives to pads and tampons, because they're expensive, they're not eco-friendly, and some of these other alternatives they're less expensive, and well, at least in the long run they're less expensive, and they're definitely not as harsh on the environment as far as being disposable and all that stuff. So that's what I'll go over, and I'll also give a little bit about my history, puberty history, menstruation history, just to give you an idea of like why I came to my conclusion of getting a menstrual cup rather than any other alternative. So let's dive right in. Having a uterus is not cheap. It is not expensive, but as far as organs go and having to pay to maintain them and take care of them, it's pretty fucking expensive. Currently, as far as getting pads and tampons, the disposable variety, I spend about $8 on each every 2 months or so. It was different back when I was younger because my periods were fucking awful and 10 days long and just generally bad. Just very, very fucking bad. Like, come to think of it, like, I probably had menorrhagia at some point in my life, and I don't know if I still currently have it, but yeah, my periods were god awful. So that's $16 every 2 months. There's 12 months in the year, so that's 6 instances where I'm paying $16. That's about $96, almost $100 a year that I'm spending on my uterus, and that doesn't count, you know, birth control or insurance and all that stuff. It's just purely for pads and tampons. $100 a year, and I've been having periods since I was 9. How old am I now? 27. 18 years? 18 years of periods. Oh my gosh. So $1,800 around about. Yeah, so it's a lot of money over the course of time that you're spending on pads and tampons and, you know, maintaining your genitals when you have a uterus. It's expensive. So when I was looking into perhaps getting an alternative for pads and tampons, I first started off just looking overall at what kind of things we're looking at. And so there are a variety of different types of alternatives. You have reusable pads and tampons, which are just like cloth pads and tampons that people have online stores that they sell those at. They also have, like, you can actually get them off Etsy. You could actually make them yourself if you wanted to. The ones that are, from companies are really nice. They have this waterproof layer and then the absorbent layer underneath, and you use it and then you wash it and then you use it again. That's kind of like how reusable diapers work. And so depending on what you're getting, there are different prices. Reusable tampons are typically cheaper than reusable pads. For tampons, it was about $10 to $15 for 5, and $12 to $20 for a pad, like for each pad. Pads can typically, they run kind of expensive. If you want to get like a 7-day pack, they're like $100. So I don't know, keep that in mind. Then you have the menstrual sponge, which is pretty much just a sponge. Like, there are like natural sponges that you can get, or there are synthetic sponges, and they actually come with like this little loop that you can use to pull it out when you before you clean it. The idea of the sponge is cool to me. I like the idea, but in execution, I don't think it would work very well for me. Both in absorbing, like keeping leakage from happening, and also because they're messy as fuck. They just seem like they would be incredibly messy, not only to extract but also to clean. And so, Next we have period panties, which are not super duper new, but they've been innovating them, I guess, and making them more effective and less bulky and more efficient at their job. I've run into different prices for period panties. I've seen some as cheap as $30, and some as expensive as $50 to $60. They also make yoga pants that are like Go Commando yoga pants that are period pants, pretty much, and those are about $100 that I've seen. Yeah, a lot of these alternatives, they're not necessarily cheap on the front end, and that's an issue that I think a lot of people with uteruses and vaginas face, is that these things are really kind of expensive. Just to, the first thing, like right up front, that's how much you're paying. You're paying like $100. It's a lot easier just to pay, $8 a month, because you're making money by the month. You're not making, a whole bunch of money all at once for whatever reason. So I think it's the idea of having disposable tampons and pads isn't necessarily like super palatable to a lot of people, but it's like, really, what other options do you have? Especially when when money comes into play. The next alternative is, of course, the menstrual cup. I got a menstrual cup. Mine cost $26. Mine was $26. I got it on Amazon. But they range between $16 and up to like, $40, $50, depending on what you're getting. I'll go more into my particular cup and what went into picking my cup a little bit later, because I still have more alternatives. Another alternative is, if you have insurance or if you have the money, I suppose, is progesterone only birth control pills. And so yeah, I took progesterone only pills for a few months, and they were really helpful in like my symptoms for my periods. Like, I literally just had no periods whatsoever, and let me tell you, that shit was fucking great. It was marvelous. But they cause issues depending on, like, really your makeup. They can cause issues with weight gain and hair growth. And so I was getting this weird bald patch right here, and I was like, not about that shit. And then it was causing me to gain weight, and I was really not about that shit. I am a person who is, I don't know, predisposed to disordered eating, and so that was not good for me. Very not good. I'm sure there's other alternatives besides the ones I've listed, but those are the more popular ones. I would say progesterone, the pills that I was taking, They were like $20, I want to say, with insurance. They're probably around, I'm not even entirely certain, like 50. I'm not sure, without insurance. I currently don't have insurance, so we'll see what goes down when I have to get my IUD taken out. Alright, so let's keep going. So, this is my Luna cup. This is the cup that I use to catch my menstrual fluid and, I don't know, make my periods a little more bearable. So there are a few things that go into the process of picking a good alternative, and especially picking a menstrual cup. First, you need to measure the height of your cervix. It's important to know how high your cervix is because that's going to change the dimensions of this cup. It's going to be either higher or lower or maybe wider. For me, my cervix is rather high, and the way that you measure how high your cervix is you just stick a finger up there. The cervix is harder than the rest of the tissue inside your vagina, and so it's really easy to figure out exactly where it is. And you see how high you had to stick your finger up there to determine how high your cervix is. And so mine was like down to this base digit of my finger, and so I have a higher cervix, which is typical of people that have had children, people that have gone through menopause. I am neither of those people, but I guess that's just the way I'm made. This cup is a large. It is, I want to say it's 24 milliliters. I want to say, but I'm not entirely certain. It's either 22 or 24. And so, in picking the Luna cup, I chose it because I was looking at different reviews of different cups, and cups like the Diva cup, they were not necessarily bad. It was just that the material that the Diva cup is made out of is a bit harder, and of all the cups, the Luna cup is the softest. It's very malleable, and so I felt like I would be most comfortable trying out something that was softer and easier to work with, and I would say so far so good. I don't have like any kind of leaks. I don't really have any problems with discomfort. I don't feel it like pushing up against my bladder or anything. I barely even can tell that it's there. It's almost like a tampon, but more comfortable, which is weird because it sits like right at the opening. It's astounding how close it is to the opening and that you can't feel it. Like a tampon, if your tampon's too low down, you can feel it, and it's very, very fucking uncomfortable because this is so malleable, I guess you don't really feel it like you would feel like the stiffer, cottony feeling of a tampon. Alright, so this is a pretty good stopping point for the video. Beyond this point, it gets a little bit messed up because the audio and video were desynced, and so I'll go ahead and re-record the information about my menstrual history and a little bit more about periods in general. I'll re-record in a part 2 for this video. So yeah, hopefully you learned some stuff. Hopefully this was informative and gave you some ideas about alternatives to disposable pads and tampons, and maybe gave you a little bit of information about, I don't know, how to maintain your uterus, and hopefully it was helpful. If not, that's cool, but I'll talk to y'all later.